Paediatric First Aid Level 3 is something that everyone working in childcare must learn. It's a mandatory course. It's also vitally important. The biggest problem we have in general public is cardiac arrest. Between 2017 and 2018, the London Ambulance Service responded to 1,430 cases of cardiac arrest. 61 cases were in infants, in other words, children under the age of 1, and another 150 were in children under school age. Cardiac arrest can affect anyone from any community at any time. Now, one of the biggest causes of cardiac arrest in children and the infants is choking. There is a national award called Millie's Mark, which is nowadays awarded to any nursery where every member of staff, including the cook if there is one, has been trained in paediatric first aid. It's a nationally recognised award, and it's named after Millie Thompson, a young girl, 9 months old, and the third day in her nursery, she was being fed shepherd's pie and she choked, which subsequently led to her going into cardiac arrest. Choking in this country kills 1 child every 5 days. And anyone can choke on anything, basically. Children are very curious. Any small items they come across normally end up in the mouth. In paediatric first aid, you learn how to deal with a child who's breathing normally, whether they're conscious or unconscious. You learn how to deal with children who are choking. You learn to deal with minor injuries. And also you learn how to deal with fractures. Although I'll say at this stage it's very difficult to fracture an infant's ribs, but any bone. You can take the femur, the longest bone in the infant's body, and you can bend it. Commonly it's referred to as a green stick fracture. Now, understandably, if you're having to perform CPR chest compressions on an infant, you're afraid you might be breaking ribs. But don't forget, all these bones are still forming. It's very difficult to fracture an infant's ribs. We're also looking at things like other pre-existing medical conditions, such as diabetes, type 1 and type 2. 65% of children with diabetes will have type 1 diabetes, or hypoglycemia. But there's also a marked increase over the past 4 years of the children who are deemed to be clinically obese. This has increased by about 45%. So in later life, there could be a possibility of type 2 diabetes or hyperglycemia. Another common child ailment that we've learned to look at is asthma. According to a survey from Greenpeace in 2017, 1 child setting in every 4 is in a pollution black spot. And in some cases it's so bad that the young child's lungs can't properly develop. Asthma must always be seen as potentially life-threatening and must be treated as such. Another major problem we have in children is epilepsy. Epilepsy affects 1 child in every 242. And children with special education needs and disabilities are 22 times more likely to be epileptic than children without these special needs. Epilepsy is not, as many people think, caused by evil spirits. It is a natural, and it's the oldest condition of the brain known to man. It's caused by a disturbance in the electrical discharge of the brain. It can be quite frequent, but 1 seizure or 1 fit does not mean to say that you're epileptic. We also learn to deal with dislocations. If you have a joint, in other words, where 2 bones meet, you can dislocate them. Most common is perhaps with children, a dislocated shoulder, children try to break their fall, or what we call soft tissue injuries, sprains and strains. This is where the ligament, where the strain is where the ligament is overstretched, with the strain is where the tendon or muscle is overstretched. So if the child has any pre-existing medical conditions, you as a practitioner must know about it. Parents need to understand that when their child is in your care, legally, you are the parent.